Hi, this is Islamic Dad here. If you enjoy this channel, please subscribe. It does help me out. Today I am doing a video on the trap of saving the narcissist. So for myself, I'm like out of my relationship. I left my narcissist about a year and a half ago. But I think this would be more relevant for people who are in long-term relationships or even married to their narcissist, and somewhere along the lines they've managed to educate themselves and realize, oh, this is why my partner acts the way that they do, does the horrible things that they do, and also this is kind of where they were created, with like the childhood trauma and stuff like that. So going through that process of educating yourself about narcissism, especially digging deep into like the motivations and how those spring from their childhood trauma, you might think that because of that level of knowledge, and of course your empathy, that you're going to be the one who's able to save them, that you're the one who is finally going to give them that unconditional love that they have been craving their entire life, and that somehow that's going to be enough and they're going to get better. And the sad truth is that I think deep down we all know that's not going to happen. The reason it's a trap is because it's a trap for ourselves. It's something that empaths, I believe, are kind of prone to, where we think that because we have a good heart, good intentions, and if you're like me, once I set my mind to do something, nothing's going to stop me. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where you can't turn lead into gold, and it's a situation where you have to stop and think, okay, if I set my narcissist partner down and I say, hey, I'm coming towards you with compassion, with empathy, with sympathy, but I need to tell you that you are a narcissist, and I would like you to start going to therapy to deal with your narcissism. They're not going to be receptive. At least the narcissist in my life, if I even were to mention the word narcissism, they would explode. The word was kryptonite for them. I mean, I feel like on some level, they know they're narcissist, and it's something they do not want to acknowledge ever. And, to be, really bombastic, they would rather throw themselves in front of a bus than acknowledge the fact that they are a narcissist, even if you laid out all the proof. And so they're not going to be receptive to you sharing that information, no matter how gentle you are, no matter how much research you have. Maybe you have like all the criteria from the DMV or DSM-5, and you've listed everything out and given examples and all that type of stuff. It's not going to work. They are most likely going to get up and go storming out of the room. And so they're not going to be receptive to you even saying that. And just think like, okay, well, what if? Okay, maybe, we can go down this. What if they say, okay, you know what? I think you're right. I think some of this does hit pretty close to home. Maybe part of me is a narcissist, or I have NPD or something like that. Okay. They're not going to do anything about it. As many, I think even self-aware narcissists have said, they don't see a problem with being a narcissist. If anything, it is what has worked for them their entire life. Why would they give up the toolbox that has allowed them to manipulate and use people to get what they want their entire life? And so, they're probably not going to go to therapy and say, I'll play along. Say you get the 1 in 2 million. They admit there's something up that matches. Maybe they're narcissists. Maybe they're not. They admit that they match the criteria. They agree to go to a therapist. Once they go into that room with a therapist and they close the door, the mask is going to go on. They are going to be the most charming, wonderful, well-adjusted person that the therapist has ever met in their entire life. And if you talk to, if you look at videos and stuff of self-aware narcissists and they talk about going to therapy before they made the decision themselves to basically, come clean with their NPD, they'll tell you the same thing. They'll say, yeah, I would go to, therapy, and we would just talk about the weather, the local sports team and stuff. And then at the end of the session, the therapist will say, you know what, you're so great. I really appreciate you, coming in, talking with me. Keep up the good work. And basically just validate the narcissist for doing nothing. And of course the narcissist is like, oh, this is great. Like, I go here once every 2 weeks and this person just tells me I'm a wonderful, well-adjusted person. That's great. And so they're not going to get real in therapy, even if you pass through all those other gates. And so, again, I'm just trying to say it's not going to happen. If a narcissist ever decides to get better, they're going to do it on their own. I mean, there are, and that's the thing. Like, if you've ever dealt with addicts, alcoholics, etc., either as friends or family, the interventions, in spite of what you see on TV and movies, interventions do not work 90% of the time. Going to rehab does not work 90% of the time. The addict or alcoholic typically has to hit rock bottom, and even then, most of them don't come out of it, or don't want to get better even at rock bottom. But it's enough for some of them to make the choice themselves to get better. And I don't think that it's really any different for narcissists, where they will either have to have a narcissistic collapse or something that traumatic where they, things start clicking in their mind and they're like, okay, I'm seeing a pattern here with how I behave and how my, people around me react to the things I do, and etc. And I want to get better, or I want to change. I don't want to live like this any longer, or I want to understand what's going on with me. Only then will the narcissist start taking those first steps to get better. But I don't think that's anything that you or I or anyone can actually convince them or push them to do, because they're just going to fight it tooth and nail. I mean, that's kind of their nature. The last thing they want to do is feel the shame of being a narcissist. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Thanks.